This is Music from the Heartland, celebrating the singer-songwriter, their songs, and their stories. For this Master Series episode, Eric Gnezda and the Songs at the Center crew accept an invitation to the Nashville home of one of America's most celebrated songwriters, the man who wrote The Gambler for Kenny Rogers and more than 20 other #1 hits, four-time ASCAP Country Songwriter of the Year and Country Music Hall of Famer Don Schlitz. Funding provided by The Ohio State University, James Cancer Hospital, and Solove Research Institute. No two people are exactly alike, and neither are their cancers. At the James, we believe there is no routine cancer. Learn more at cancer.osu.edu/cancer. Funding also provided by Jobs Ohio.
Ohioans take flight.
That's one small step for man.
When innovation is in your DNA, the possibilities are sky high. Ohio, a place to live, learn, work, innovate, play, and fly.
On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us. And he commenced to speak, and he said, "Son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces and knowing what their cards were by the way they held their eyes. And if you don't mind my saying, I can see you're out of aces, and for a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice." So I handed him a bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. And then he bummed a cigarette, and then he bummed a light, and the night got deathly quiet. And his face lost all expression. He said, "If you're gonna play the game, kid, you gotta learn to play it right, 'cause every gambler knows the secret to surviving is knowing what to throw away and knowing what to keep, 'cause every hand's a winner, like every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, and know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done." When he'd finished speaking, he turned back towards the window. He crushed out a cigarette. He faded off to sleep, and somewheres in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even. But in his final words, I found an ace I could keep. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done, but you got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There will be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
"50 Billboard Top 10 hits, 24 number ones, 2 Grammys, 3 CMA Song of the Year awards, and 4 Halls of Fame. It's a privilege to welcome the Songs at the Center, Don Schlitz.
Who is living the weirdest life ever.
Right down here in your office.
Yeah, this is where the magic doesn't happen most days.
Well, a lot of magic has happened, and it began with that song, The Gambler.
It did.
You were a computer operator at the time. And
at Vanderbilt University, I was the all-night guy, and I'd moved to town from Durham, North Carolina, after 3 wonderful freshman semesters at Duke University. And we all decided it was time for me to do something else, and I got on a Trailways bus, and my dad waved and said, "Don't forget to write." Seemed to be pretty good advice.
Yeah. The way that The Gambler showed up for you, musically,
was weird.
Yeah.
Because there was one person who would see me in town. His name was Bob McDill. Now, Bob McDill,
legendary songwriter,
quite possibly the best go-to-work songwriter in the history of this town. Wrote Amanda. He wrote,
Good Old Boys.
Good Old Boys Like Me is his masterpiece.
Yeah.
Just all these great songs. Gone Country, Come Early Morning. A hero. I didn't know that he was when I met him, and he was actually the person that would start seeing me. I had hair down to here, and I was kind of an anomaly in Nashville at the time, and a kid, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And but he would see me every once in a while and say, "That's nice. You got another one. That's nice. You got another one. That's nice." And so I'd go and play my songs for Bob and learn what he was doing. I went to one day, and I had not been able to. I hadn't written for a couple months, and nothing was coming. And he actually would do that. He showed me this. I didn't have a car, so it's a hot August day, and I've walked all the way over carrying my heavy guitar case to Music Row to see Bob, and he said, "Well, maybe this will help you." And he showed me an open tuning on guitar, and it was just very simple, and it was just like he would, and you could almost hear a Bob McDill song ready to come out from that. And I heard this, and I heard this drone happening for the first time in my life. I was 23 years old. And I walked home with that drone in my head and wrote this song in my head, everything but the last verse. And I got home and sat down and retuned my guitar to the way Bob had shown me, and wrote, on a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns. It's just very simple. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, and know when to walk away, and know when to run. And that was it. And it was that drone. And I've only, in the last year or two, come to realize that the inspiration for that song wasn't a train ride that I took, because I'd never been on a train. And it wasn't card games, because I didn't really play cards, still don't really, which disappoints people from time to time, and tough. But it was that drone. One night I was sitting with another friend of mine who was an accomplished songwriter named Jim Rushing, and I played him a whole stack of papers, and he went like, "That's nice, what else you got?" And finally got to that one. I didn't have a last verse, and he said, "Well, that's the one you ought to finish." And that's what I did. And I probably wrote about, 60 or 70 more verses to it. And I think I had the song going to about 10 minutes. And finally went with what we now talk about as the Guy de Maupassant ending that let the listener make up their own mind. Yeah. And so just the simple 8 lines that end the song, I think actually show a great deal of respect for the listener, and let the listener decide what happened.
What is your talent? When you define it,
I love songs.
you love songs.
I love great songs. And before you get to loving great songs, you have to love good songs, and you have to love any songs. But I love songs. I grew up, I hit 11 years old and the Beatles hit. About 15 and the Byrds hit, and Bob Dylan. And then the true, I think, glue that holds that together is I was from Durham, and we had a lot of R&B. We had a lot of Motown, a lot of Stax. And those songs, when you put them together, back in the day when everything was on one station, you could hear Bobby Bare, and then the Beatles, and then Smokey Robinson, and then the Four Tops, and then Johnny Cash, and all on one station. So it was all about the songs. It was great. That was true broadcasting. We have narrowcasting now, and
Right.
So I love broadcasting.
And what to you is the key to a good co-write?
Listening to the other person, let the other person be vested in what they're doing. Let them do what they do best, and bring forth what you do best. I've not always been a good collaborator. I really haven't. I'm too many times I'm sure that I've annoyed my collaborators by going like, okay, watch this, and then I'll just with the words, then I'm ready to go.
Well, the late Todd Cerny, who had collaborated with you,
My
said,
dear friend.
Yeah, great guy, and he said Don Schlitz writes in paragraphs.
For some reason, I tend to see the whole song. When there's, people think, oh, that'd be a great line for a song, and they'll give you like some bumper sticker line, and you're like, and for me, no. What's the idea? What's the idea? There's got to be an idea, and I can tell you everything I know about songwriting in like 2 minutes. I won't
do it.
But it's you find an idea, and you make it smaller. You make it very small because you're dealing in a very concise mode of communication here. Of what we're doing is very small, and then you sit that right there, and you walk all the way around it, and there's 360 degrees that you walk around it, and every one of those degrees is a window. Now you look through every window to see what's going on in that idea, who is talking to whom, and just is there furniture, is there movement, what's happened before, what's happening after. You can't do but so much, but what's happening in the moment, what do they look like? There are their description. Between every two windows of those 360 windows, there's an infinite number of cracks. And you turn your head a certain way, you're the only person that can turn your head that way, and you're the only person that's going to see the idea in that particular way. And so trust yourself. Tell the story. My friend Craig Bickhart would always say that if your song is too long, you either started or stopped in the wrong place. And I think that's something to remember. There's only about 6 types of songs. It's like 6 types of books, movies, ideas, jokes, or anything. It's like there's requited love, there's unrequited love, there's a history song, wisdom given. There's a joke song. There's the Guide Pensant, where the unexpected ending song. And you can find your own 6 types of songs, and fill almost everything into those songs. An example of looking at a little idea. Kai Fleming and I wrote a song called "Give Me Wings," and just FYI, that we looked at this idea, and it wasn't just because that we had the title, but. He asked her, what gifts could I bring you to prove that my love for you is true? I want to make you mine forever, and there's nothing on this earth I would not do. She said, anything I wanted, you have given willingly. Now there's only one more thing I need. If you love me, give me wings, and don't be afraid if I fly. A bird in a cage will forget how to sing. If you love me, give me wings. story that continues. Michael Johnson did a wonderful job singing that song. But it's all about looking at a conversation between two people.
Well, Don, there was a Kenny Rogers song that I heard for the first time on a sports talk show.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was called The Greatest. Mm-hmm. And it's a wonderful, wonderful story song written by you, Don Schlitz.
Little boy in a baseball hat stands in a field with his ball and bat. And he says, I am the greatest player of them all. He sits his bat up on his shoulder and he tosses up the ball. And the ball goes up and the ball comes down. He swings his bat all the way around. And the world's so still you can hear the sound as the baseball falls to the ground. Little boy doesn't say a word, picks up his ball, he's undeterred. And he says, I am the greatest there has ever been. And he grits his teeth and he tries again. And the ball goes up and the ball comes down. He swings his bat all the way around. And the world's so still you can hear the sound as the baseball falls to the ground. And he makes no excuses and he shows no fear. He just closes his eyes and listens to the cheers. Listens to the cheers. Little boy in a baseball hat picks up his ball. He stares down his bat. He says, I am the greatest and the game is on the line. And he gives his all one last time. And the ball goes up like the moon so white, and he swings his bat all his might, and the world's as still can be, and the baseball falls. That's strike three. Well, it's supper time. Mama calls. Little boy heads home with his bat, with his ball. He says, I am the greatest. That is a fact. But even I did not know that I could pitch like that. He says, I am the greatest. Yes, it's understood, but even I did not know I could pitch that good, little boy.
Well, you were really part of a revolutionary movement when you came to town. It really kind of followed the Christofferson era. And country music's changing again now in terms of what they're playing on the radio. And what's your take on that?
You know what? It's one thing to stand and watch and know that it's different, and it is, and it would be very easy to say, oh my goodness, well they've just, Garth Brooks has a great line. It's like everybody that came before you is a hero, and everybody that comes after you is a punk. So I don't know if I don't believe that it's for me. I mean, it is interesting. I know that it's based on a lot of things, a lot of songs, and there's structures and everything that are inspired by people that I wrote with or my heroes, and they just find their own way. I don't write for 20-year-olds, and I don't write for 20, the whatever demographic they're looking for. I did at one time when I was that age. I have been able to find music that I love and still love to work on. I was trying to retire, and then my pals Adam Englehart and Glenn Duncan, the great bluegrass musicians, said, "Hey, why don't you make a bluegrass record?" And I thought, okay. And I went to the studio and watched these great players. I thought, that's really amazing. I can't believe I would get a chance to be in the same room with those musicians. And then we started listening to songs that I had already written and going like, wait a minute, a song that was a good song when I wrote it and a song I wanted to hear is still a good song and a song I want to hear. Maybe the instrumentation is different. The expectations might be different. I'm not I don't ever want to be anything I'm not. Bluegrass, or it feels more like broadcasting as opposed to narrowcasting. Is not, there's a lot of different types of that. You can listen to it on, Sirius Radio and Bluegrass Junction. You hear there are different types of bluegrass, and we're like, wait a minute, these are the songs I liked when I was growing up, or this was a style I liked, and it sounds so much like people agreeing. It sounds like Thanksgiving. It sounds like people smiling when they're playing. It doesn't sound like people being exclusive. It sounds like people being inclusive. And so I started looking at these songs, and we've been making a bluegrass record.
So you released a bluegrass album called Mountaintop.
Mountaintop, and so let me play what the first single from that is. If you go back and listen to some of my heroes, like McDill or the great Tom T. Hall, or the great country songwriter Chuck Berry. and you study them, and then you go like, bad decisions make good stories. Good stories get you wild women. Wild women cause bad decisions, and bad decisions make good stories. Vanessa had some work done, that's for sure. I never knew what size they really were. She promised me that she'd be true. She said the same to a lawyer too. Now what was mine belongs to him and her. Cause bad decisions make good stories. Good stories that get you wild women. Wild women cause bad decisions, and bad decisions make good stories. Ramona said, let's throw ourselves a party. If it's gonna be real fun, we'll need some money. So I robbed a bank to stock our bar, then Ramona stole my getaway car. Now my party's gonna last from 10 to 20. Cause bad decisions make good stories. Good stories get your wild women. And wild women cause bad decisions. And bad decisions, they make good stories. Now listen close, cause a moment of temptation combined with a libation can lead to the causation of humongous aggravation. If you blame your situation on a woman's motivation, your only consolation can be found in this summation. Bad decisions make good stories. Good stories, look at your wild women. Wild women cause bad decisions, and bad decisions that make good stories. Wild women cause bad decisions, and bad decisions that make good stories.
Don Schlitz, thanks for joining us on Songs at the Center.
Thanks. It's
really
great to be here, and congratulations on, being all over America.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Eric Gnezda. Tune in to public television stations all across America where you'll always find Songs at the Center. We'll see you next time.
Funding for Songs at the Center provided by Jobs Ohio.
Ohioans take flight.
One small step for man.
When innovation is in your DNA, the possibilities are sky high. Ohio, a place to live, learn, work, innovate, play, and fly.
Funding also provided by The Ohio State University, James Cancer Hospital, and Solove Research Institute. No two people are exactly alike, and neither are their cancers. At the James, we believe there is no routine cancer. Learn more at cancer.osu.edu/cancer. Learn more about Songs at the Center at songsatthecenter.tv.
It's public TV. You probably just learned something without even knowing it.